Okay, here we're going to talk about one of the spatial section, which is called offset sections. It's very similar to the full section or half section. It's simply just that when you draw the section, you don't go along a line. The line of the cutting can be offset by several different places. The picture that you see over here is an example of the section view. And if you wanted to show some important feature, then you probably will select the offset section views in order to see all these important parts. As you can see, the cutting line is drawn along this line over here, where the cutting line tells you where you're going to turn and where you are going to offset. As we mentioned previously, if you look at the previous lecture or video, the cutting line tells you where you view the object. So the arrow points to the perspective where the visible line is looking at. Your view should be on the opposite of the cutting arrow. So if you have an arrow point to this way and this way, then your view should be at the bottom of this view here. So here we told you how you can place your object. Everything that you can see when you cut that, which will be projected to the plane, should be hashed. So all these angle line is what we call the hash line. So what are the skills and what are the procedures that you should use to do an offset section view? Here we list several guidelines, and we're going to use an example to explain how you use this guideline. The first thing you do is simply just draw the outer bound of the object. So when you have an object, and what are the basic things that you can see without going into the inside of the object? The most outer bound of the object is the first thing you're going to do. And those should be a visible line. After that, then you're going to look at what are the visible line along the cutting line that you can see. That you have to follow the cutting line, and we will show you how you follow the cutting line, because cutting line will turn at different places. After you draw this visible line along the cutting line, the next thing we are looking for is, or would these cutting line go through some holes, slots, or spatial features? If they do, especially for the holes, and you should draw a visible line on the edge of the holes. After you finish that part, then you look for anything that doesn't go along the cutting line, but you can still see it by doing the section, which is the line doesn't cut through it, but you can see it. So that's another thing you should look for. And most importantly, the cylinders or extruded parts are the things that will appear on your section view. After you draw all these visible lines, then you might want to add a center line if needed. If you go through a hole, and especially or for the cylinder, then you need to add the center line. Remember, no hidden line should be appear in the section view. Here we're going to show you an example. In this example, we're going to make a section, offset section view on 3 different places. By looking at these parts, can you imagine what this object looks like? You have a top view, which includes 3 cutting lines over here, A and B and C. And because the arrow point to the left, so your cutting view, your section view should be on the right. And you can do several sections because the features are all at a different location, and it's hard for you to draw one section line to go through each one of the features. And that's why in this example, we show you 3 different section views. There's holes here. There's could be a cylinder or could be a counter bore. And there is a slot over here. So we're going to explain how can you make a section view in this case. So the spatial feature we'll point out here are the holes that you can see, and these things should be notified because when you do the cutting, and it will go through that. So each one of the cutting line actually go through most of the holes that you can see. Some of them are not cut through, such as this one over here. How can you tell this is a hole? Because there's a center line go through. So let's look at the first example over here. Let's see how we can make a offset section line. Section view. So here are the steps that we just talked about. So we can follow each one of the steps to see how we do this. We're going to start with the section A, which is section view of this one here. Now again, the cutting line is the line that show you which point of view you look at the parts. We look from this side and look into the parts. So this is the arrow points to. The section view should be on the opposite side, so we put the section view over here. And the first thing we do is to draw the outer bound of the object. So let's look at what the object looks like. So this is what the object looks like in the three-dimensional. The first line actually go from here and it will continue to go through the hole, and it's going to turn, then go through this one here till the end. So that's how the line is going to cut through. As you can see, the first one is the hole, the second one is actually a counter bore. And then the first thing we do is to draw the outer bound. So what is the outer bound of the object? The outer bound is the overall object that you can see if you look from this point of view. So if you look from this point of view, you are going to see it start from here. And would it go down? No, actually, you are going to see through to this part here. So it is going to continue go through, which is how this line is going through. Until it hits to this position, and it will drop down and to a lower level and go to here. So that's why this line go to here and drop down to here, and then go down, and then you go around. So that's what this line looks like. So the outer bound will be like this. After you draw the outer bound, then we'll see if there's any of the visible line go along the cutting line. So this is the outer bound, but the cutting line is the line actually go through this object. So we are going to follow the AA line and to see what the line will go through. So you look at the AA line. So AA line go from here again, from here to here to here and turn. So it go from here, then the cutting line will drop, and then we'll go through until it goes to the middle, but it doesn't matter. This line just go all the way along this point. Nothing go up or nothing go down. So this is what the second step is. The next thing we do is to see any of the visible line in the section portion. So the section portion is this line over here. So anything inside of this region, this kind of a 7 shape region, are there anything that you can see which is visible when you cut through it? And especially looking for the hole. So you can see we go through this hole, we go through this one here, which is not a hole, but it's a counter bore, and therefore you draw the visible line along the edge of the hole and also the edge of the counterbore. So these are the edge of the hole, and this is the counterbore, the larger portion of the counterbore, and these are the drill size of the hole. The last step is that you draw any of the visible line in the unsectioned portion. So unsectioned portion meaning you can see this cylinder, you can also see this plate over here, you can also see this hole over here, but if this hole is hidden, then you don't draw it in your section view. So in this case, when you draw this one here, you can still see this part here. So this part should be visible. This part will be visible as well. And this part is also will be visible. So if you draw this section part, and you will see this part, which is the cylinder. This part is the first part of the cylinder over here. And this one here is the slot, the height of the slot. And that's part that you should draw. The next step is actually to draw any of the center line if needed. And we know there's a hole over here, so you should draw a center line for this one here, which is this one here. And you will also have a center line on this counterbore here, so you should also draw the center line along this one here. Then the next thing is actually to draw all this hash line here to represent parts that you can see, which is a solid portion. And based on the material, you will have a different section pattern. So be careful when you are specifying with the pattern or the material, you should select the proper symbol, the line style for this kind of section. And also remember the angle of the section line should be, the preferred angle will be 30, 45, 60 degree. Do not have the line parallel to any of the lines that is visible. That's another important rule that you should follow. If you understand the first part, you can try to do the second part. Let me just quickly explain what the second line will looks like. So the section B and B, this one here will cut through another portion of this object. So we are cutting through from this part, get down, and we're going to turn. I'm going to continue to cut, but this time we're going to cut through this cylinder, then get down, then go out. So the overall bound of the object is going to be the same. However, when you follow the cutting line, the cutting line actually is going to go through what? Let me just draw the cutting line go through this part here, the first cylinder, and we should go up to here. Then it will go down. These are fillet, so they have like a curve at the bottom, so it's not just simply flat. Then when it goes to here, they will go through the cylinder. So you will go up, go through the cylinder, and then go flat. Then you go down to the cylinder. Then you go all the way to the end with a fillet at the end. So this is what your cutting line looks like. Would you be able to see this hole over here for this view? The answer is no, because it's behind this wall of the cylinder, so you are not going to draw a hidden feature on this section view, neither on the AA section, because it's not visible from this portion. Only when you draw the last one, you will be able to see the hole, and you will make this hole to be a solid line, and that will be how you complete this section view. So think about it. Let me show you the answer for this one here. Okay, so you can see only in the last one that you can see the hole on the back, and look at this answer and try to think of how you can make this drawing and follow this procedure, get familiar with the procedure, then you should be fine. So this is at the end of this offset section.